So Panda just suffered its first issue. Well, that's a massive bummer. Panda broke down on me while I was on my way to a meet I was trying to organize, which is really unfortunate. So what happened was I was driving along, I pulled out onto the main road, not too far from the estate. I put my foot down and the power just goes, and then the oil pressure light comes on. So I'm assuming it could be the wiring, I don't know. I think I soldered on the oil pressure switch, or it could be oil pressure in general and low pressure. Now the owner of the engine that's in this, the engine has 300,000 kilometers, so that's probably a contributing factor. So when I was doing the oil service for the first time, I had found that the oil filter had actually disintegrated, and I'm wondering if like bits of that, like a little piece of it got lodged in there in one of the oil galleys, and if that's the case, then that's even a bigger problem, which would require some kind of flushing out of all of the orifices of the engine. But we'll see. We'll sort it out eventually, but reliability, questionable. So for today's fun adventure, I'm going to be trying to remove this, the oil cooler. I'm going to be taking off this whole unit and I'm going to be swapping it out for all of this. I'm going to get a new sandwich plate, thermostatic sandwich plate in. I'm going to get an oil rad, making myself some AN fittings to go into the turbo, and this is the oil return, and then a couple of other lines to go from the turbo into the block. So yeah, let's get to it. So I've managed to get a lot done today. I've gotten the turbo out, some of the fittings for the oil and water out. So here's the turbo. Now what I have, a lot of what people do with these Abarths 500s is they convert this pipe so that it's just one single pipe, or they just make a whole new line with this attachment at the end of it. I made myself AN line, just cutting off that end downside of the oil return. So it's an AN10 line coming up to a T25, GT25, but it fits up nicely to the IHI actually. Nice little aluminium block. So that's going to go into the oil return. This pipe might be still a bit too long. It's okay, I can take off this end, chop it down and make it the size. Then for the turbo feed, I have AN6. This will be the feed, oil feed. And then I have some AN10 lines for the oil cooler. Now, what's a bit of a bugger is that this is my second IHI turbo that I have, and if you can see right in the center there's a lovely crack, and it seems like these IHIs love to crack. They love to crack up. While it's still usable, this one, it's less than ideal because it's only a matter of time before the crack gets any larger. Normally, yeah, you can actually see a bit of cracking in here. I didn't even realize it until I opened it, but yeah, it's less than ideal. Eventually you'll have boost leaks and stuff like that. Is it boost leaks? I think it's boost leaks. And yeah, not great. So I don't know if I'll have the VL36 much longer. We'll see. For now, anyway, it's not like I'm investing into a new turbo right now, so I'm going to make do with what I have. Anyway, continuing on, I'm going to continue taking apart the oil cooler because it takes up a lot of room, and as you can see, you can't actually do a service on the Panda with this setup because there's just so many things going on and everything. You'd have to take apart half the front of the car to actually do a proper service well. So this is mainly the reason why I wanted to do this whole swap. Basically, when I first did a first service on the car, I did replace the filter on it. So here's the new filter that I had, but look, there's little bits of old filters still in there. I thought I actually got everything out, but clearly not. There's actually still bits of the disintegrated oil filter that I had in the car the very first time. Yeah, there's tons of bits in there of the old oil filter. Now, like I said, I did have an oil pressure issue in the car, and to be honest, it would not surprise me if it was one of these bookers that got in. But yeah, anyway, nothing great, that's for sure. But this is one of the reasons why I wanted to swap out this oil filter housing, because I don't like the paper type. I much prefer an aluminium can. I got myself a Bosch aluminium can oil filter, and I'm going to be replacing this whole system to use that. So I was trying to test fit my thermostatic sandwich plate, but it's too big, doesn't fit in properly. The actual thermostat gets in the way, and you can't plug it in against the face of the oil filter. So I'm going to have to change the setup a little bit. What I'm going to have to do is change this for a smaller sandwich plate. That does not include there's a sneaky little friend in my car. Get out of here. Turbo feed made. It's definitely not going to be winning any competitions in under the bonnet, but it's functional. I have these kind of like aluminium profiles to hold down the nuts, but I don't have a way of tightening them. I don't have one of those aluminium wrenches. I should get it, but it's not something that I'm reusing 100 times. So, but this will do. This is going to be the return or the oil feed, and that's going to be connected to one of the ports down there where the oil filter housing connects to. Had a moment of genius with the Panda. So the Bravo TJet has a water return line next to the oil filter housing. So pretty much underneath the turbo manifold. So I broke it off this end, and rather than figuring out what thread pipe this is, I'm guessing it's probably an M22 or something like that, I just took the aluminium and I clamped it. That's all I really need this to do, is to just plug it up. I don't need it to feed any water. So here we have the sandwich plate with the oil filter now on. That's in place. And I have the oil to the, not this one, oil to the turbo put in there now as well. Now the oil return, the modded version that I have, it's kind of interfering with the oil filter. So what I'm going to do is shorten it a little bit more, the metal part of it, to try and get the angle a little bit around, kind of like to go around basically the oil filter. So you can see here that I just cut off the original oil feed and kind of like just connected it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten it a little bit and yeah, just put it back on and see if that works. So I'm actually going to use my little rig that I made. So I made this adapter for a 20 volt Parkside battery, and it using a buck converter, it just allows me to use 12 volt tools or pretty much any kind of tool below the maximum output of this battery, which is 20 volts, so 20 to 1 voltage. So it's pretty cool. So I'm going to chop this now and clean it up a little bit so that I can slide on the other end of the AN fitting. Alright, so I cut it down. It's basically a little nipple that sticks out. Hopefully that's enough of the pipe in there so that nothing will leak, but of course none of this will be, well, I need to do testing essentially. So far so good. I think I might be even ready to put the turbo back in, at least the exhaust side, the hot side, just so I can understand whether this pipe is actually long enough for it. I'm going to start taking the bumper off to see where I can start hanging up the radiator to measure up the area, do any cutting if required and stuff like that. So I'm going to get to it. So I'm in the process of putting the turbo back together, or at least the exhaust side into position, and I actually have this kit that I got from eBay. So I'm going to use this. Now I don't know how long I'll probably have this turbo because of the fact that there's a crack in it in the exhaust side. So, but there's no harm in doing this now anyway. So I'm gonna fit this all in. I'll have some of these studs already in place, replaced all the rusty crappy ones that were in there, just shot up. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm really happy with that. Alright, so I've taken the front bumper off and I'm going to try and measure up where I can put on my radiator. And I'm kind of hoping that it fits in here, right in front of the intercooler. Let me know in the comments whether that's a good idea or not, because I have no clue. But I'm going to see if the bumper can actually go on with this being here. I'm going to zip tie it on for now just to get an idea of that, so let's see. Yeah, it seems to fit pretty nicely. I like that. I like how it's sitting behind there. The intercooler has air and the radiator has air. I think I'll run the lines kind of side to side out that way and go all the way around. So there's the sandwich plate. It's like a little bit of rubbing in places here and there, but a little bit of zip ties can fix all of that. I don't think I can go over here because the crash bar sits against the bumper. So maybe in and around here, or maybe go back here and route it somehow. I think I'll try here through this way. Let's see what happens.
Nice little car, that, isn't it?
Cheers.
It's sporty little look.
It's not
You
too
wouldn't
bad.
think it was a fucking Fiat.
No.
Brembo brakes and all that.
Yeah. Cheers, man. So that's how I've routed the piping for the radiator. Let's see how it looks like with the actual bumper on it. So as you can see, the rad is super stealthy. It's barely noticeable. A little bit of fitment issues, but nothing too terrible. I think I might be able to tuck it in there somehow a little bit further. Maybe have it come out a little bit towards the bumper. It is knocking off of it a little bit, but not too bad, I don't think. I might even cut out this section anyway, but I don't know. We'll see. So, this is now a zip job tie. So, this is now a zip tie job. So, I've zip tied in some places. It's actually not moving anywhere. Now, I know it's obviously not the greatest solution. What I can do is drill in here to make 2 holes and then connect it to the crash bar, and that's totally fine. But for now, I'm okay with doing the zip tie job like this for now. I've connected it here to the front panel of the car, and this is all going to be tucked away. I'm going to add an extra zip tie just to keep it up here, so that it's out of the way of the intake pipe and a little bit away from the bumper. But overall, yeah, that's pretty good. Now on this side here, I've connected it all up. Just need to tighten it down. So yeah, so that's pretty much the install so far. Tomorrow, hopefully, I'm going to finish it all off, fill it up with oil, water, check out any leaks, turn the engine over, and drive it. But that's me done for the night. I put the turbo in place. Still need to get the cat on. All the lines fit perfectly fine. All the lines are reaching down there. Don't have much light here. There we go. So as you can see, the line going down there, there's so much more room now. So underneath the car, I've fitted my MPT fitting for the oil pressure into the sandwich plate. The sandwich plate is pretty much buttoned up. I have my oil feed in place, and I have my oil return in place. This line is not going anywhere. It's nice and strong, connected to the top on the turbo. You can see up there. So progress is being made. Water lines are in, all tightened down. Tomorrow after work, I think I will continue putting it all back together and test any leaks. And that should be it. Like, the car hopefully should be totally fine. Oh, I do have another water line here, and what I've attempted to do is to see if I can actually run water through it with a crushed end, because it's just aluminium. So I've rolled it up as best I can to try and stop any water from coming through. Now, I don't know how heat, hot cold will work. So when the engine warms up, will it cause the metal to expand a little bit or let through some water? I don't know yet. It's a fitting that I'm kind of figuring out. If water is going to be an issue with it, then I'm just going to try and get an end cap to close it off. So that's essentially it. The lines are all routed. I've put the bumper back on. It's nicely tucked away under here, under the bumper, so you can't really see anything that's there. And it's getting air, so I'm very happy with this. It's a nice sleek little modification, but very important, I feel. So it's another day with Panda, and I've gotten to work on it some more. I've put back the cat now at this point. So filled up oil and a little bit of water just to see if that nut would let out any water, and evidently yes. So I'm gonna take it off and see if I can do something with it. I'll try figure something out, but yeah, oh well, I wasn't expecting a miracle here with this, but I have a better understanding of that now. So but yeah, so like I said, I put in all the liquid, I've checked over everything, exhaust pipe is on, turbo is in, everything is buttoned down as far as I'm aware. Now, I've cranked the engine over a few times by hand just to see whether or not it actually like pushes any oil into the turbo and stuff, but I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I gotta sort out that leak first before I start up the engine. I mean, I could start the engine, but I feel like loads of water is just gonna pour out everywhere. I think I poured in a liter, not too big a deal. I can empty it out, and that'll be that. Okay, so I still haven't gotten Panda running, but someone has suggested something really crazy. What if I don't have enough fuel? When I turn the car to accessory mode and let the fuel pump prime, I hear the pump, but it doesn't sound very, well, the same as usual. And I can see here that, like, low fuel, fair enough. But what if it's actually like no fuel in there whatsoever, and I actually just used up all of the fuel, and that's why the car died and had no issues with oil at all. So, but you can see here the level sender is sending me this. There could be a difference in voltages and readings and stuff between the Abarth fuel pump and the Panda pump. So maybe that's why it's showing me that there is fuel, but in actual fact there might not be. So I got myself a tank of fuel, 5 litre. I'm going to fill it up, prime it a few times, and then give it a start. Let's find out. Hey, got it working. Oil pressure is hanging around nearly 70, between 65 and 70 psi. Okay, so what I did was I just unplugged the ECU for a little bit longer off of the battery, plugged it back in, and it seems to have kick-started it back to life. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh no. That's interesting. So this is kind of like what happened the first time round when the car died in the first place. That's kind of annoying. So that means I have to look deeper. So just to give you guys some insight, pressure holding totally fine with the sandwich plate and the oil radiator. Nothing on the dashboard or anything like that. Finally, I've gotten the issues resolved. It was a problem with the ECU. I had a load of water in it, and surprisingly emptying it out in rice fixed it. So that's the radiator installed pretty much. So yeah, I managed to get it all connected up. I'm actually going to take it out for a spin and see how it goes. Don't think I'll go too far just in case, because getting it back is a bit of a faff. Oil pressure reading seems to be good. Everything seems to be okay so far. I'm gonna check the coolant. I think I don't have much coolant in there, but I'll fill it up with some water, and then I'll get the proper stuff, distilled water and proper coolant. But yeah, so